God is good, and today guys we are going to be talking about how to make your MMO more social and more enjoyable and more multiplayer friendly. And I'm going to give a couple of tips. We're also going to talk about, because the reason I'm bringing this up is, you know, I'm perusing through forums and all this kind of thing, and I see this often, right, where people are like, man, I just really wanted a social experience, and especially in the time of this recording where a lot of people are in lockdown and all that kind of thing and kind of holed up at home, and they need that social interaction. And a lot of people are reaching out to MMORPGs. That there's been a huge surge of multiplayer games, online games, doing really well during this pandemic, and that is because people need that kind of social aspect in their lives, right? No matter how introvert you are, no matter any of that kind of thing, you need some kind of socialization. That's just how human creatures work, right? And I'm going to talk about it because if you have an MMO you're playing right now and the only thing you don't enjoy about it is the social aspect, I'm going to give you some really good advice, because I don't want you stuck in that situation where you're feeling lonely or you're feeling like, you know, it's just not good, right? And so I'm going to hopefully be able to help you with that. Now, before we begin, I do want to give a big major shout out to the members of Napalm. Thank you all so very much for your support. You keep this channel alive. I could not do this without you, so thank you so very much. If you're interested in becoming a member, please click the join button down below for more information and a list of perks. And a big shout out to Reiko for being our highest tier member. Thank you very much, Reiko. Also, another way of supporting this channel is by liking the video and of course subscribing so that you get more MMORPG content. We also cover JRPGs, CRPGs, RPGs, all that kind of thing, okay? Alright, now let's start talking about this. So, you're playing your MMORPG, whatever it may be, it really actually doesn't matter, and you just feel like it's a single player game. Nobody's really interacting with you, nobody's reaching out looking for groups often, or if they are, it's only at the end game. You know, the classic scenario that happens in most modern MMORPGs, and honestly even in the old school ones these days because they've been around so long, etc. Here's the deal. Back in the day, people had to look for groups. They had to reach out and try to find other people. So there was constantly people looking for something, and no matter how embarrassed you might be to kind of be that person reaching out, you saw them looking for exactly what you were or close enough, and you said, hey, I'd like to come. And then guess what? You ended up playing with them a lot of the times for many hours, and you became friends and you got to know them, etc. And that's just how it used to go. These days, MMOs aren't really designed that way. They're more designed to where there are times where you need a group, or a group would be more helpful, or you could level up faster, you could get through that boss fight, or whatever it may be, depending on the game, with other people. And it is better with other people. And obviously, in my very biased opinion, since I'm an MMO lover, I think that all of the fun from playing a game, mostly 90% of the time, comes from socialization. The thing is that number one, you have to just be willing to reach out. You see somebody else running around and they're around the same level as you and they're running around the same place as you, send them a tell. You know what I mean? Just send them a tell and say, hey, I see you, we're same level, would you like to group up? Maybe we can knock this out quicker. Or, hey, what are you up to? Maybe I could help, or maybe we could help each other. Don't be afraid to do that, right? Because we just assume that everybody playing the game is there for a single player experience, but that's not true. They chose the MMO genre in that particular game, most likely because they knew there would be other people playing, and they knew they would have some multiplayer aspect to it. So you reaching out could make you the person that changes their mind, right? And if enough people, honestly, if just the people in this channel and whatever MMO you're playing started doing that, it would actually change the landscape of the MMOs, because then there would be other people that aren't viewers of this channel or don't, you know, play along with this little game, this little homework assignment I'm gonna give you, and they'll maybe start behaving that way, right? And it can be a chain reaction. See, we used to have to do that, like I said before. That used to be a normal thing, that when you played an MMORPG, you just had to look for other people, right? But as tools and systems began to change, and they were trying to make it was actually originally to make things easier for you to be able to do content, no matter the situation, no matter your time zone, no matter this or that, it led to very single player experiences. Unfortunately, that's what happened, right? And we can't deny that. That's what happened with modern MMO design. Now, a lot of people will say that just the modern MMO design just straight up discourages cooperation and socialization. But in my experience, just being that guy who just doesn't care and just reaches out to people and says, hey, you want to play together? Hey, you want a group? Hey, I just don't care. I just do it, right? Because I'm not there to play by my dang self, right? Now, keep in mind, there are times where people just want to play by themselves, right? They don't have much time and they don't want to get involved in a group because they know it's just going to be a pain because they're just going to have to leave. Or like sometimes I have to play single player because I'm just too distracted, right? Like I'm playing the game for 2 seconds and then I'm taking the dogs out to go potty outside. Then I'm playing for 5 minutes and then I'm taking care of the kids. Then I'm playing for 5 more. I don't want to get in a group where I have to be like, hey, AFK again for another 10 minutes. Hey, AFK. So I get it. There are times like that. And you're going to run into some of that, right? But you can't give up. You're going to run into people, you message them, and you're going to run into people that don't say nothing back. You're going to run into people who say, sorry, I'm about to log out. You're going to run into people who say those things because that might be why they're not playing with other people. But there are a ton of people. There are millions of people out there who, if you sent them a tell and said, hey, let's group up and let's play together, or hey, whatever, they would be all over it, and you would probably make them a bigger fan of the game or of the MMO genre as a whole, because that is what made these games so much fun back in the day, is meeting people, socializing, all that kind of thing. Plus, it gets you used to Pantheon, where you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to reach out to people so you'll knock the rust off of that. Now, I would like to talk about a little bit of experience I have with doing this, okay? Final Fantasy 14, okay? Me and my wife, Winter, played that game a lot. That was like our MMO for a very long time. She still loves it. But we were very social. I just behaved like I always do in MMOs, and we just looked for our groups, right? Like we just said, hey, we need a DPS. Hey, we need another healer. We need a backup tank. We need this or that. And I know I'm not a picky guy either, right? Like, so when I'm gathering groups, I just need a role. I don't care what they are. You want to do all melee for DPS, all melee DPS, fine, I don't care. You want to do all ranged, I don't care. I'm just looking for people to come join and play with us, right? So that's another thing. I'm not picky about who's in my group. I'm not looking for the perfect composition unless it's absolutely mandatory for that content, such as a raid. And even in those situations, I still try to bend the rules and see if we can do it without playing by the actual meta, right? That's what I like in MMOs. You may not be that way, right? So it may be more difficult. You may have to slash who wizard and find a wizard. I don't know. But what I can tell you is that that's how we behaved in that game, and that game was very social for us, right? And I get it, that people, your experience may be different in Final Fantasy 14, but I'm promising you it's because you didn't behave that way. So Final Fantasy 14 actually has tools in place, for example, that allow you to see who's doing the same sort of content as you on your server. And then it has cross server and all that kind of nonsense. But I'm telling you that you can very easily play Final Fantasy 14 super social. And believe it or not, there are a ton of people, even in that game, which you can play all the way to max level all by yourself, besides the dungeon runs that are mandatory, but those group you up on its own, so that doesn't really count. You can just queue up for it, so I'm not counting that. But you can go all the way through, all the way to max level for sure, without even meeting or actually getting to know anybody, right? And that's not the kind of gameplay I want. But we didn't play it that way. We asked for groups. We were constantly shouting out that we're looking for it in the zone chat or what have you, and we always found people. We made a ton of friends, and we had a lot of fun with the game. And you can do that in any MMO, is what I'm trying to say here, right? As long as there's people who play the game, and as long as there's people who are your level, then you can play this way. And sometimes even when not, because a lot of times, even higher levels, if the game allows it, would mentor you or whatever it takes in that particular game to help you out and play with you and meet somebody new, all that kind of thing. Now, number 2 is you want to get in a guild, okay? You want to get in a social guild, right? And you can usually find that by just getting on Google, typing in the name of your game, social guild, recruiting, or something like that, looking for social guild, whatever, and you can find one. And that helps a lot, because obviously a social guild is looking for socialization, right? This is going to be a group of people, so you can more easily, you'll have a more contained group of people that you know that that's their thing, right? And don't be afraid to get in guild chat and say, I'm wanting to do this. Anybody want to tag along? Does anybody want to do this particular thing with me, or just run around and get XP, or whatever the case may be? And you'll be surprised how many people jump at it. No, not every single time, all right? So here's the deal, guys. Sometimes you're going to get rejected, okay? And I know that people don't like rejection. I think that may be a part of why people don't like, reaching out and asking for help and kind of deriving that socialization. Well, I just am here to tell you, though, that that's just part of the game, right? Sometimes nobody's going to answer you or say anything, right? Don't give up. Don't let that completely change the way you behave, right? Because another time, people will be all over it, and you'll actually have to turn some people down because there'll be more people wanting to do that with you than you actually have room for in the group. So just don't give up, all right? You gotta go forward. So with that said, guys, that's what I want you guys to do. Whatever MMO you're playing currently, I want you to get in there. I want you to go log into the game right after this video. And I want you to try this, okay? I want you to just run around, try to find some people to group with. Send them a tell, join a guild, whatever. And just try to, you initiate it though, okay? I want you to initiate a group for whatever it is that you want to do in the MMORPG that you're playing. And I want you to go do that, and that's your homework, okay? I want you to go try it. I want everybody to go do that. And then I want you to let me know in the comments down below how it went. Did it go good? Are you gonna try again later because, you know, nobody's really on? I want to hear what happened, all right? Because this is how I play MMOs, and I've always been able to find groups, right? And I complain often about some of these modern MMOs just not being a social experience, and I hate it because I do wish that the design of the game actually promoted socialization in every aspect like Pantheon Rise of Fallen's doing, but that's just not the modern stereotypical MMO design anymore, okay? And that's okay. We have Pantheon coming, which is going for that, so that's great. And if you don't know about Pantheon and you're new to the channel or what have you, please check out my playlist right here on my channel where you can learn literally everything about Pantheon Rise of Fallen, which is a deep social experience. Guys, go do your homework for me, please. I beg of you, and report back in the comments down below of how it went. And did you make a new friend? Did you make somebody's day? Did you have more fun when you was more open and you got out there and you just started looking for a group? And let me know how that went down below, guys, because like I say, that's how I play them. I'd love to hear what happens when you get out there and you start playing that way too. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video today, and if you're new here, please consider subscribing, and please help me feed that hungry YouTube algorithm by clicking the like button down below. And I want to give a big shout out to the members of Napalm. Thank you all so very much. You keep this channel alive. I could not do this without you. I really appreciate you guys, and a big shout out to Reiko, our highest tier member here on the Nathan Napalm channel. And of course, guys, until next time, God bless and happy gaming, and go do your homework.